Hello everyone and welcome to a new IK video. This is Kincaid from M14. Our KVK just started. Hopefully there will be a lot of action to record for you guys. This is something to look forward for in the future. However, I'm here today to talk about the top 10 mistakes for beginners, especially for the free-to-play players and the mid spenders or the low spenders in new servers once they start the game. So there's a couple of mistakes that new players do. These mistakes could hurt their accounts big time for the long run. So let's just talk about these mistakes and how to avoid them. Number one is bad skill investments. Lots of players don't know how to navigate through the Tower of Knowledge. They just see some shiny skills, some purple and blue skills, and they have no idea what these skills do. And the first thing they do that they just look at the numbers. Oh wow, these skills increase the damage by 60%, and they immediately increase the skill or upgrade the skill, wasting all their soul crystals without a plan. This is a big mistake, so I recommend for you that without upgrading or before upgrading any skill in the Tower of Knowledge, you need to have some kind of understanding, or you need to have some kind of plan whether you will need this skill in the future or not. For example, I upgraded concentration and I upgraded onslaught. However, I've used these skills for a very long time. I used onslaught. Well, I don't really recommend anyone to upgrade onslaught, but I was really a competitive person in the early server, so I had to upgrade a skill to increase my Alexander's damage because I used Alex, and I used concentration on my Cleopatra back then. So I made sure that I have a decent march, but again, I was some kind of a mid spender, so I could afford to upgrade some skills that I'm not gonna use for the future. Same for Chase. I upgraded Chase to use on my Cleo, but I'm not using it anymore. However, I made sure not to unlock any unnecessary skills. For example, you can see here I didn't upgrade or unlock any of these skills and still not upgrading any of these skills because I know and I'm sure I'm not gonna need these skills in the future. So I made my best not to waste my soul crystals. The second mistake is if you made a mistake to unlock and upgrade a skill, the second mistake is resetting this skill. For example, I'm not using Toxin Nova and I'm not planning to use it in the future. However, I'm not gonna reset the skill because I lose 20% of my soul crystals. Of course, there are some kind of skills that you're not gonna use whatsoever. For example, if you upgraded a skill such as basically a blue skill that is useless, maybe a skill such as precision or penance, I'm not gonna use these skills and I'm sure of that. So if I upgraded them by mistake or without planning or without having a clear idea what this does these skills do, then I will reset these skills. However, I'm not using concentration right now and I'm not using chase on any immortal. That does not mean that I will reset the skills because you never know when you're gonna need these skills. Maybe you will need them on a second march or some specific situations, maybe attacking a boss or maybe attacking gnomes, attacking a player. You don't know when exactly you will need these skills because these skills still hold some kind of value. So I'm keeping them for now. Same for magical shield and physical shield. These skills have some kind of special situations. The third mistake is investing stardust in the wrong immortal. This is a big mistake, and I already talked about it in my ultimate guide video for the beginners. However, I'm gonna need to mention it one more time because it is so important right now. I have a clear example for me here. I upgraded Cleopatra. I know it is not that much, but this is just an example. I upgraded Cleopatra Stardust or Portrait to level 6 because, again, I was a really competitive person and I needed as much power as I could get to be able to compete in the early server. So I wasted some Stardust in the early game on Cleo. And for now, I'm not able to retrieve or reclaim this Stardust for now because there is no reset button for this Stardust. I upgraded Zeno to boost 10. I upgraded Alex to Portrait, Portrait 30, and I upgraded Hani to Portrait 30. And honestly, I kind of regret it right now. I know I used Hani and Alex for a very long time. I made a lot of fights with them, so I kind of got what I spent. for on Hanyo and Alex, but if I could reset these two immortals to spend the Stardust somewhere else, I would do so without any hesitation. So make sure you're investing your Stardust on the right immortal and have a clear plan on whether you will use this immortal in the future or not, because you're not gonna be able to reclaim this Stardust again, at least for now, unless they make a reset bottom for the future. The fourth mistake is dismantling expensive immortals, or dismantling hard to obtain immortals. For example, I have lots of shards for Alex here. I have 2,500 shards for Alex. That means that if I have enough books, if I have enough uh, um, insight or master's insights, I'll be able to max out Alex's uh, spec or Alex specializations. I have a lot of shards for him, and these shards, if we just made the math, if we gonna calculate how much these shards cost for gems, it's gonna be around 250k gems, that 2500 shards for Alex. So I'm never gonna sell these shards because not only it is expensive, it is also hard to obtain, and it takes a very very long time to obtain or gather all these shards, especially if you're a free to play player or a low spender. I know if you're a high spender and you can afford spending on the elemental boon, you can get a lot of shards for any immortal basically on the game, except very few immortals that is not available. For example, Ragnar. But again, you can spend uh, money on this event to get some Alex fragments, but that does not mean that you can sell the fragment. So if you're planning to build an immortal and you spend gems on him, and later on you found out that this immortal is kind of useless, or maybe you're not gonna use him, that does not mean that you can sell the shards, or at least in my opinion, it is a bad idea to sell the shards. For example, I bought some shards for Jenkins. I bought around 80% of these shards. So I'm not using Jenkins right now. I don't even have Jenkins upgraded. There he is. But that does not mean that I will sell the shards, because you never know what is going to happen in the future. Currently, Jenkins is a very powerful immortal. I'm not using him right now, but you never know what is going to happen. Maybe I will build a lightning march in the future and I'll then start to use Jenkins. However, for now, I'm keeping the shards just in case. So dismantling expensive immortals or hard to obtain immortals is definitely a bad idea and a big mistake. You can see that I'm keeping some shards for immortals that I'm not even thinking about using right now. For example, Cyrus, Hammurabi, and Sign Duke. One of the biggest mistake, which is the fifth mistake that we're gonna talk about in this video, is starting with a wind march. Starting with a wind march is definitely a horrible idea, because it takes so much time to build the wind dragon. For example, you can see I have only 33k wind dragon crystals. I'm not really a big spender when it comes to spending on or going the extra mile for the dragon crystals. So these are all the wind crystals that I've gathered in almost 300 days. So it is not even enough to max 2 skills for the wind dragon. Unless you're a mega spender and you would like to play with the wind march, it is a bad idea to start with the wind march. Also, the wind immortals are kind of hard to obtain for free to play players and the low spenders in the early game, and the march itself is not that strong. I'm working on the Wind Marsh tier list right now, so I know some immortals might rank high. However, these immortals work separately. For example, you cannot use Emperor Ken and Matilda in the same march. Both immortals are very powerful if they are used separately in different marches, and I'll probably place both of them in the OP tier when it comes to the water tier list. I mean the wind tier list. However, the wind march itself doesn't have the right doesn't have the right setup to build a full wind march. So it is definitely a big mistake to start with a wind march in the early game or at the beginning of a server. So the sixth beginner's mistake, not exactly a mistake, but it's something that you're missing on if you did not do, which is building Hippolyta on your new account. Building Hippolyta is probably the best decision that you could ever do on a new account, Hippo is your best friend on your new account, because if you're a free to play player or a low spender, that means that the only source of dragons or dragon crystals that you have is from bosses, hunting bosses. And Hippo is the best immortal to use against bosses in the game. Not only that, she reduces the energy. She actually reduces the energy for the bosses, reducing their, not preventing them from casting their ultimate skill, reducing their damage, and reducing the losses that you receive against bosses. So if you have to hunt bosses, you definitely have to use Hippo. So it's gonna make your life a lot easier. And I probably talked a lot about how does her skill work, so I'm not gonna waste any time on explaining the skill one more time. The seventh mistake is something very special for the free to play and the low spenders as well, which is rushing your buildings and rushing your technology and rushing your dragon. I explained this before, but looking at the worldly buff that we have right now, it is a buff that appears after the server is 14 days old, and the buff increases once you move into season 2, and once you get into conquest you get a better buff. So the longer you spend on the game, the better the buff that you have. So currently we have a 400%, uh, it is actually a 200% dragon upgrade speed, 400% increased experience from hunting gnomes, and so on, so on, so on. So the buildings buff that we have right now and the technology buff is 100%. So wasting lots of speed ups on the early days of a server on your technology and your buildings is a big mistake. You have to wait a bit. You're not gonna compete with the mega whales, whatever you do. So you have to save your resources and your speed ups to be used at the right time. So after 14 days, you're gonna get a cool buff that allows you to, it increases the building upgrade speed and the technology upgrade speed by 50%. So if you just wait 14 days, you're gonna be on the right track to use your resources at the right time. However, if you wait even further, if you're looking to build a decent account and you're planning for the future, then I recommend to wait until season 2 or even conquest to use your resources at the right time. Just like what I did in this account, I didn't really spend a lot of resources or speedups at my technology in season 1 and season 2. However, I'm spending everything right now on my technology, and my technology is finally caught up to 200k for now. I upgraded most of the important ones. However, I still have a long way to get. I need to upgrade these more, the last ones, and I need to unlock these and upgrade them. Uh, anyway, the eighth mistake we're gonna talk about is building expensive immortals without a plan. So I see a lot of players play, for example, a water march, and then they start building Attila. I keep mentioning this example because Attila one of the most useless immortals in the game right now, and is very expensive, very hard to build. So it is completely pointless to build him. Even if you're gonna play a water march, then the final setup is not gonna include Attila. It's gonna be probably Ragnar, maybe Bjorn if you're a mid spender and you can afford a Shadow Immortal, and maybe an immortal such as Yi Sun Chen to provide more sustain for the march. The idea is that you're gonna use a 2 defense march next to your Merlin and an immortal that applies chill, or maybe Ken Emperor. However, building an expensive immortal without a plan is a big mistake, so never invest in expensive immortals. For example, these expensive immortals could be Alex. If you're not gonna play an Earth March with the Alex and Yisan Chen, then it's pointless to build him for in early game, and it's pointless to invest on Jenkins if you're not gonna play Lightning, and of course an immortal such as Baldwin. These are the immortals that is available in the early game and very hard to get, very expensive because you spend gems on to build these immortals. Keep in mind, I'm talking to the free to play and the low spenders. So this is also a big mistake. So try to avoid it until you have a clear goal in your mind, a clear march that you want to build in the future. That means only then you can spend your gems at the right immortal. Mistake number 9 is spending all your AP and SP. I know I talked about this, but I just need to keep mentioning it because how important it is. For season 1, I never ever spent any of my SP on upgrading the boost for my immortals because I knew that boost 20 is kind of so easy to obtain. I don't need to spend a lot of SP, and I don't need to spend gems on buying SP, because eventually I will get my 4 immortals, at least my main march, to boost 20 before I get or enter the KVK. That is in case you want to be very competitive. However, spending SP any further on second marches or third marches is gonna be a big mistake, because you need to save this SP for when you unlock the boost 25 or 30, and I recommend to save it until you unlock boost 30, because 30 takes a very long time. For example, it's been, I think, more than 2 months I've been in Conquest right now, more than 60 or 70 days I've been in Conquest, at least. And ever since I got into Conquest, I saved. I had, I think, up to 160 big SP potions saved, and it was only it was only enough to upgrade 2 immortals once I got into Conquest, which was Himiko and Ken Emperor. And ever since I got into Conquest, I've been purchasing the SP, the medium SP recovery, and I can purchase up to 12 times. That means 600 SP daily from this pack here. And I only upgraded 1, 2, 3, 4. I only upgraded 4 immortals to boost 30, which is my main march. I only upgrade my main march to boost 30, and I don't have any other immortals at boost 30, as you can see. So it is so important to save your SP. As for your EP, I think I'm gonna mention it one more time. I know I talked a lot about it, but killing level 55 gnomes gonna give you a lot of resources. For example, you get a lot of XP. You can see I'm getting 240k XP per immortal from just one camp of level 55 gnomes. You get a lot of gems for the equipments, and of course you get high tier equipments, and you get a lot of enchanted stones compared to low level gnomes, which is level 50. I think the difference between level 50 and level uh, 55 is so huge right now. You get 2.3k from level 50, and you get 3.5k from level 55. And of course, the red equipment sells for 2k enchanted stones per equipment. So I have right now a lot of equipments that I can sell. So 100 equipment, 200 equipment sells for 200k enchanted stones, and you can see only 90 plus 33, which is around 123 red equipment sells for 246k. Anyway, you get the point. Save your AP until you unlock high level gnomes, which is level 55. For my case here, I'm saving my AP to for the level 60 gnomes, because they're gonna give so much value, and there is of course the new equipments that we will unlock once we get the castle level 60. The last mistake, which is the 10th mistake, is kind of related to dragons as well, which is spending all your keys as a free to play on low level chests. For example, I see a lot of players hunt level 6 or level 7 bosses, and they spend their keys because they want to compete with other players. I've been saving my keys starting, I think, ever since I got Conquest. I upgraded my dragon, and then I started to save my keys one more time. I saved up to 50 blue key and 106 purple key. So I'm not sure if these keys will be enough to upgrade a second dragon, but I'm saving these keys for the level 20 passes once we unlock the level uh, the castle 60 in the future. So saving your keys until you unlock the level 15 passes is a good idea. Saving your keys until you unlock the level 18 passes is even a better idea. And in my case right now, saving your keys for the level 20 passes is just genius. So this is just my plan, and of course you can compose the keys, so whatever kind of box that you will get, you will have the right key for the box. You're not gonna, it's not like you'll have some keys left behind. This is a great feature that has been introduced in the recent updates, and one of the best features in the game so far. So these are the top 10 mistakes for beginners that you need to avoid if you are a free to play or a low spender building a new account. You have to plan ahead, you have to use your resources at the right time. You don't have to waste your resources trying to compete with other big spenders, because it's gonna hurt your account for the future. This is everything. Hopefully, I wanted to talk about in this video. If I forgot anything, if you need to know about anything, make sure to mention what kind of content you would like to see in the future on the channel down below in the comments. This is it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It helps me a lot. And have a wonderful day.